Hello and welcome to Buffoon of the Week. In case you didn't know it, we're a show that reviews last week's news and current events, looking for people who did or said something so absolutely moronic that they earn a shot to be voted as the dumbest newsmaker of the past week. But only if you say so, because you get to decide by voting when you leave a comment right below this video, or by going over to our poll at our website, buffoonoftheweek.com. Last week, our community of Foonies, that's you, picked Don Lemon as Buffoon of the Week in a much tighter vote than we anticipated. Many people cited Lemon's extensive body of work, and his burn-it-down unhinged rant on the Electoral College and packing the Supreme Court was simply the cherry on the Buffoon Sundae. Who knows? He may even be in the running for Buffoon of the Year. As you might know already, we regularly post our videos on Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and sometimes we'll even release a bonus video here or there. So if you want more awesome content coming your way, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, and please subscribe to the show. Oh, and when you do, make sure you click on that notification bell so you never miss another show. We are building an awesome community of Buffoon enthusiasts that we call Foonies. So if you're a Foonie, join us. The more we grow, the harder we'll work to bring you bigger and better content. There's no better way to support us than by subscribing to this channel. And remember, it may be just a small click of a button for you, but to us, it really does mean so much more. So listen, if you want to see this week's dishonorable mentions, you gotta go over to buffoonoftheweek.com, find the poll for this video, and over there you're gonna find links to other stories with much more buffoonery. Plus, you're gonna find a lot of great articles, some past videos we did, and other fun content if you register. So head on over to buffoonoftheweek.com. And we're telling you this week mainly because this week's buffoons are so colossal that we have no time for dishonorable mentions. Those nominees are titans of buffoonery. We're talking about Fox News' Chris Wallace and former FBI Director James Comey. Let's show you why. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Alright, you know what, Foonies? Let's not mince any words here. Fox News' Chris Wallace sucked at being a moderator at the first presidential debate. Aside from losing control throughout, we identified several instances of Wallace, either by ignorance or by design, acting in a biased fashion in favor of another Buffoon of the Week, Joe Biden. Don't believe us? Here are some examples. Let's start with the lead-up to Wallace's question to President Trump on repealing Obamacare.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
comprehensive plan.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Right. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no bias there, right? Talk about a loaded question. Chris Wallace didn't say something like, Mr. President, your critics contend A, B, and C. You see, that would have been different. Remember, Chris Wallace is supposed to be a neutral party in all this. So when he adds editorial comments to a question, it's him that is representing that those comments are facts. Next, how about this little moment?
Answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself.
I mean, what the hell, Chris? That's not calling it down the middle. You just agreed with a participant's ad hominem attack on his opponent. But that wasn't the only time Wallace and Biden teamed up together.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just say, Joe.
No. Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already...
family
already
lost
wrote.
a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such a...
they're right here.
Mr.
That's such
Every
a great...
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us
family.
with
It's
government.
about your family.
All right, that's the, end of the, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President,
no. Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
get rid
is
of
absolutely
you know what, you're-
not
Stop.
true.
tape doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen,
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
Good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment.
That was like a 2-on-1 assault. But if you want to see a glaring example of Wallace's anti-Trump bias, check this out.
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Wait, but that's not what Trump said, Chris. It may be what Biden thinks he said, but say the right quote. Did you not do your homework on this? Or are you intentionally mischaracterizing Trump again? Let's see what he actually said.
Changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No.
I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people. Neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest, and very legally protest, because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this, there are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment.
So again, is Wallace just ignorant of facts? Or is he intentionally misleading? That question would come back around again for the most cited and quoted part of the entire debate.
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do that,
specifically
but-
do it?
But Chris, he already did it. Back when you asked him the exact same question in 2016.
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear. That question was also talked about in the form of groups. I want to know, which groups are you talking about? You have to tell me which groups. Ultimately, he got to the Ku Klux Klan, which obviously I'm going to disavow. And by the way, if you look on my Twitter account, almost immediately after the program, they were disavowed again. You know, it's amazing. When I do something on Twitter, everybody picks it up, goes all over the place. But when I did this one, nobody ever picks it up. Take a look at my Twitter account.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thanks. Senator.
So do you think maybe, just maybe, we could put this whole white supremacy thing to rest already? Anyone who tries to tell you that Chris Wallace was a neutral moderator here either doesn't know what the word neutral means or simply doesn't care. This was an abysmal job. Loaded questions, lack of preparation, sharing a chuckle with Joe Biden. Wallace broke just about every rule in the book for being a neutral. He went from moderator to Biden's protector to participant as the night progressed. When taken in total, Chris Wallace was the biggest buffoon in a debate full of buffoonery. Hey, Don't forget that Buffoon of the Week is all over social media, so when you're online, make sure you like us on Facebook, you follow us on the Twitters, and go on over to Instagram and like us there too. But the most important thing you have to do is remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. This week's second nominee put on quite the performance of his own. We're talking about former FBI Director James Comey, who appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee to answer for the FBI's incredibly bad Crossfire Hurricane debacle. You know, for a man who prides himself on being the smartest man in the room, Comey made himself appear to be pretty much the dumbest person in the room.
I remember learning anything additional about Steele's sources. Not that I recall, no. I don't remember Bruce Orr ever briefing me. I don't recall that.
So do you recall?
I do not.
Do you recall?
I do not. I don't remember any discussion. I don't remember using that word, but I don't remember using that word. I don't remember ever being informed. I don't recall being informed of that.
Oh, come on. Is he serious right now? James Comey, the man who took such copious notes of every conversation he's ever had in his life, especially those with President Trump in great detail, now all of a sudden has no memory of anything at all? Comey also had the gall to attempt to minimize his role in the investigation into former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, which many believe was a pretext into spying on President Trump himself and his campaign. Republican senators were fuming at Comey and his selective memory.
I trusted you. I believed that you would act in good faith when I asked you in my office and later in committee hearings, first in your confirmation hearing and then in our all of our subsequent oversight hearings, what you would do to help make sure that the FISA process was respected and not manipulated. You gave me your word. And having established that brief relationship with you all those years earlier, I trusted you. I have to say today, I'm very disappointed. Mr. Comey, with all due respect, you don't seem to know anything about an investigation that you ran. So how can you now, as a private citizen and former FBI director, show up and then speculate freely regarding any alleged ties between President Putin and President Trump? I heard you say just a moment ago, now I hope I misunderstood you. Please correct me if I did. I think I heard you say that you still speculate they might have something on President Trump because of how President Trump refers or doesn't refer to President Putin in public. This, of course, takes into account nothing about the fact that sources you've relied on in the past have turned out not to be accurate. You didn't identify the inaccuracies subsequently to the FISA court. It acknowledges nothing about the fact that there are perfectly reasonable explanations as to why one leader would refer to a foreign leader in a certain tone, or the fact that this is the same tone that he uses in referring to other world leaders. You don't install a wasp nest in your child's bedroom and then express surprise when the child gets bitten by wasps. You don't adopt an ex parte process and then express surprise and outrage when it goes completely unsupervised and off the rails. This is an issue that's neither Republican nor Democrat. It's neither liberal nor conservative. This is a constitutional issue. This is a moral issue, and we've got big problems.
The Inspector General report concluded that Mr. Klein Smith, an attorney who worked for you in the FBI, deliberately altered an email. He had emailed the CIA to ask if Carter Page was a source. The CIA came back and said, yes, he was a source. And Mr. Klein Smith, your lawyer, altered that email to add the words, not a source, to make the email say precisely the opposite of what the CIA said. And that fraudulent document was then used as a basis for a fraudulent submission to the FISA court. You believe that is honest and competent, Mr. Comey?
I don't believe you've offered an accurate summary of the Horowitz's findings.
Mr. Comey, I have the report right in front of me. Page 254 describes how the lawyers, specifically the words, and not a source, had been inserted in the response, directly reversing what the CIA says. Was it practice in your FBI to fraudulently alter evidence that you submit to federal courts?
It was not the practice in the FBI to fraudulently alter anything as presented to federal courts.
Well, it is difficult to say that an investigation that featured fraudulent evidence is competent and honest.
IG Horowitz's report talks about a FISA process that is riddled with errors. Every single place they looked, it was crap. You were in charge. How is it possible that the FISA process is that bad? I have defended the FISA process. I've fought against many of the particular reforms that some of my colleagues have wanted to advance because I believed the checks and balances in the system were real. You were responsible for those checks and balances. Where were you?
Listen, you said this several times. I frankly don't understand it. The certification that the statute requires is a certification by the FBI director as to the contents of the application. You signed off on it. The FISA court said it was so misleading that it now had reason to doubt the FBI's truthfulness across the board. Are you responsible for these certifications or not?
I don't believe you're accurately describing the statutory requirement for certification.
Are you responsible for these certifications or not? Answer my question.
I sign certifications on every FISA that the FBI sends over to the FISA court, including these.
Are you responsible for this misleading evidence given to the FISA court? Yes or no?
Yes, in the sense of command responsibility. No, in that I didn't have personal knowledge that would have led me to understand that we weren't supplying complete information.
Mr. Comey, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the top of the line rate, how would you rate the Crossfire Hurricane investigation in terms of being done thoroughly, by the book, an investigation the FBI should be proud of?
I'm not sure I can apply a number scale, but I would say in the main it was done by the book, it was appropriate, and it was essential that it be done.
Okay. So you're proud of it?
Overall, I'm proud of the work. There are parts of it that are concerning, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but overall, I'm proud of the work.
Okay. Sounds good.
You know, if it was any other person with some shame, that verbal beatdown from each senator would have been painful. But not only did James Comey say that he's proud of the work that was done with Crossfire Hurricane, but I'm sure he's just as proud of his performance before the Senate Judiciary Committee. After all, he's selling books, he's got movies made about him, and in every story, he's the heroic lead, except in real life, because then he isn't. The facts show, as Senator Cruz said, Comey was either incompetent or he intentionally let the inmates run the asylum, that is the upper echelons of the FBI, and he allowed all these missteps in criminality to occur. Whatever the case may be, Jim Comey's legacy is that of a rogue buffoon. So there you go. It's the two biggest buffoons we've ever had, but only one can win, and it's your turn to tell us who you got, America, for this week's Buffoon of the Week. So because you stayed around till the end of the video, we're going to let you in on a little secret. We got something really big planned for the end of the year. So make sure you hit that thumbs up button, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that notification bell so you can come back next week, where we'll have 2 more nominees, but only one can be Buffoon of the Week.